It's been a year since the Eaton and Palisades fires ripped through Los Angeles, and the scars are still fresh. So today, we're going to dive into what happens after the smoke clears. We're going to look at the incredibly slow, complicated reality of what it takes to rebuild. And we're going to ask a really important question. Why are some communities bouncing back faster than others? Okay, let's get into it.
This quote, right here, it really gets to the heart of the whole situation. You see, these fires weren't just a one-off tragedy. They were a massive wake-up call. The old rulebook for how to build, the old ideas about what's safe, well, you can pretty much throw that out the window. We're in a new climate reality now.
And if you need every proof of just how tough this new reality is, look at this number, 10. A year later, and only 10 homes have been completely rebuilt across all of Los Angeles County. I mean, that single number tells you everything you need to know about the staggering, almost impossible scale of the challenge that thousands of families are up against.
All right, so here's our game plan. First, we'll look at the tough reality 1 year on. Then, we're going to get into this tale of two very different rebuilding efforts. After that, we'll explore 4 big ideas for a better recovery, dive into how policies are changing, and finally, wrap up with why community is everything in this fight.
So, let's start here. What's life really like for these families, a full year after losing everything? Well, it's a grind. We're talking about constant uncertainty, huge financial stress, and an emotional toll that's just immense. And when you dig into the details, you see it's just one crisis stacked on top of another. An incredible 3/4 of families are still living in temporary housing, and they know another move is coming. For a lot of them, the insurance money for that housing, that ran out months ago. So now, they're spending their days in these endless, exhausting battles with insurance companies, and some are just so beaten down, they're taking lowball settlements just to make it stop. It's a marathon of frustration.
And all of this brings us to the core of what we're talking about today. Because in the middle of all this chaos, 2 very different stories are unfolding in 2 communities, Altadena and the Pacific Palisades. They were both hit hard by the fires, but their recoveries are on completely different tracks. So the big question is, why? Well, the data gives us a huge clue. Just look at the permit applications. In Altadena, over half, 52% of the destroyed homes have applications filed to rebuild. But head over to the Pacific Palisades, and that number drops to just 32%. So something is clearly putting the foot on the gas in Altadena, while the Palisades is lagging behind.
And this is why. It breaks down perfectly. In Altadena, developers are coming in and buying up properties, which just speeds everything up. But the real kicker, the absolute game changer, is a state law called SB 9. You see, Altadena has full access to it. The Palisades, they've banned it in fire zones. And that one single policy choice has created 2 completely separate realities for recovery.
So what exactly is this SB 9 law? Well, think of it as a flexibility toolkit for homeowners. It basically lets you build up to 4 homes on a lot that used to be zoned for just 1. Now, if you're a fire survivor, this is absolutely huge. It means you could, say, build a smaller home for yourself and then build a couple of rental units to create income that helps pay for the massive cost of rebuilding. It gives people options. And right now, options are everything. Okay, so we've seen the problem, we've seen the challenges. Let's talk solutions. A group called Climate Resolve did a deep dive, looked at hundreds of recommendations from past disasters, and they put together this fantastic blueprint for how to not just rebuild, but to build back smarter and stronger. And here's their roadmap. It's got 4 key parts. First, create a single recovery authority. One place for people to go for answers and permits to cut through all that red tape. Second, set up resilience districts, so neighbors can actually team up to make their whole area safer. Third, a Delta Fund. This is crucial. It's a fund to help close that painful gap between what insurance pays and what it actually costs to rebuild. And finally, fix the communication breakdowns with emergency alerts that actually work when you need them.
Now, those big ideas are fantastic, but they're also starting to shape what's happening on the ground right now. So let's look at how City Hall and the insurance industry are basically rewriting the rules for what it takes to build a home in Southern California.
This is the million-dollar question for every single homeowner right now. There was a 1-year freeze on insurance companies dropping customers, but that's over. And now they're looking at properties with a whole new, much stricter eye. They are laser-focused on one thing. How big is your fire risk?
And this chart just lays it all out, plain and simple. That traditional wood frame house, insurers see that as a huge risk now. What they want to see, what gets you a better policy, are things like non-combustible siding, a top-rated fire-resistant roof, windows that can block intense heat, and a design that gets rid of those little nooks and crannies where embers can hide. The takeaway is simple. The materials you choose will directly affect whether you can even get insurance, let alone afford it.
So the city of LA knows it's been too slow, and they're trying to speed things up. Mayor Bass has this new pilot program where licensed architects can basically self-certify that their plans are up to code. It lets them skip months of review delays. Now, it puts all the liability on the architect, but it's a way to break that bureaucratic logjam. They're even starting to use AI to scan plans early to catch mistakes, which is pretty cool.
Look, building a fire-safe house is one thing, and it's a really important thing. But what we're learning is that true resilience, it's not about building one little fortress on a hill. It's about creating an entire fire-safe neighborhood. It really is a team sport. And get this, there's actually a financial reward for being a good teammate. Insurance companies will often give a 10, even 15% discount to every single home in a neighborhood that goes through the process of becoming a certified Firewise community. And why is that? It's because they know that when neighbors work together to clear brush and make an emergency plan, the risk for everybody goes way, way down.
And that's really the bottom line, isn't it? I mean, you can have the most fireproof, state-of-the-art house in the world, but if your next-door neighbor's yard is full of dry, flammable brush, your whole community is still vulnerable. The only way to achieve real, lasting safety is by working together.
And let's be really clear about something. Building this way, building for resilience, it doesn't mean we all have to live in ugly concrete boxes. Not at all. With modern materials and smart design, we can build homes that are incredibly fire-resistant and beautiful and comfortable and super energy efficient. You can have it all. Safety and style are not mutually exclusive. So, we'll leave you with this final thought. The lessons we're learning from Altadena and the Palisades, they're not just for people who've been through a fire. They're for all of us. As our world keeps changing, we all need to ask ourselves a tough question. Are we building for the way things used to be, or are we building for the reality that's already knocking at our door?